All right, so these are different sitting positions you can apply to your Pomodoro work sessions, or whenever you do home office, or whenever you're sitting somewhere for a long amount of time. As always, use it or lose it. So the more often you change your sitting positions, the better it is for blood flow, general health and stuff. So these are just a couple of inspirations, and you can take them, you can modify them, you can play around with them, whatever you wish. One of the most simplest ones, of course, is actually, instead of sitting like this all the time, to open your legs, no matter how weird it looks like. But here you can already play with your hip and kind of, just whilst you're sitting, moving around with your hip, or lean back and here slightly extend your hip flexors. You can always get an outer hip stretch. Please flex your foot. Press gently into the supporting leg and gently pull your knee down to the floor. And from here, you can also hinge from your hips, and then you will get an openness here. I do that basically all of the time when I'm sitting somewhere. But here again, you can play around, jiggle, wiggle, do micro movements with your spine, and also round out your back and get back into the stretch. This also works pretty well when you're sitting on a desk or something. Another variation is to be like kind of a half Caesar, just like we had in sitting one, but having your foot really close, and here you can lean into your front leg a little, and that gives like a very beautiful stretch around the ankle, and an openness here. You can actively pull yourself and push away. Also here, micro variations. You can bend over this leg, or you can even round out your spine a little and get in here. Of course, switching sides, super helpful. Another thing that I really like to do is to bend my knee, and here I actually have space. Can you see this? That I do have space here, so I can put my foot in between here. And then different variations, right? I can drop my knee, but as you can see, I create openness here, and I can bring my weight more to the front of the chair. So I sit like this, and then I can experiment. If I want to have more of an internal rotation kind of thing happening, I go over to the left more. So I have the opening here, but also I work a bit with internal rotation. If I want to get more of a quad stretch and open my hip a bit more, I come to the front and I go over to the side. I support myself with this leg in the front. And here I can play around by pulling my knee actually down to the back. So as you can see, I'm opening more here. If that's uncomfortable for your foot, you can always place a pillow or something right here and hit the chair very gently so it doesn't break. That's another option. Option number, I don't know because I did not count, is half Caesar with straight leg. And here you get this openness very beautifully in your, it's abductors. In the inside of your thigh, but also a bit on the outside. You can lift your foot and externally rotate your hip or internally rotate your hip. You can play around with really dropping on the chair and bending your knee slightly or straightening it, but be careful that it's not painful. You can lean more into here to get more of your calf stretch and ankle mobility and distribute your weight. Or you can even like press up and down to just move a little and distribute weight. You can make it shorter. You can make it longer, whatever you wish. So these are options for the chair. It depends on how big your chair is actually. If you can manage, You can also sit cross-legged, which is always, at least for me, a bit more comfortable, especially when I sit on a desk. And then just see what also works with the desk that you have and the chair that you have. And then you can go for a couple of options. Let's actually see if we can go over to the table so I can show you how this applies on the table actually. All right, so application on the desk, as you can see, it's fairly easy for me to do that and to lean forwards, especially if I move my chair a bit back from the table. I can now calibrate how much I want and I need to lean forwards, right? If I move closer, I just move on the chair. Closer, of course, I don't need to lean forward as much. If I'm more back here, then I can rest here and I can work and I get this nice stretch in the outer hip. As well, here you can see it's fairly easy for me to do so. I just switch positions and I embrace stuff here. I can work, do computer work, whatever. And also, even if I'm closer on the desk, I can sit like this and work fairly easily. From here, I can also take my leg out. So again, I have more openness on this side. I open that more. And here I can do always like micro variations by rotating my foot and my leg whilst I'm working to keep awareness with my body. And of course, if I need to focus quite intensely on what I'm doing, I do not play around so much with my foot. Unless I would tell you, you will get more skillful over time, right? You will get more skillful at working very focused on what you're doing, but keep your body moving in micro variations with your hips up and down, maybe some slight variations in your spine, also your shoulders, just every now and then, maybe not all the time. But this will get easier over time, just to keep contact with your body. And here again, right, if I'm sitting here and I'm lucky, I don't have any like armchair, whatever, you know, this thingy to rest your arms. I can really open my hip here. I'm really pulling my knees outwards slightly. I'm extending my lower back, but I project my tailbone down and back, but I open here. So I can actually create more space, which will also help me to focus and to breathe. Another thing, maybe another video on another day. Who knows? What else? Cross-legged. Oh yeah, that's another position actually that I like to do, which is just having one leg in the cross-legged position and the other leg that's out here. And I can extend my leg to this side. I can allow it to fall back in, or even to, let me show you from the other side. Bam. Here, I can do these things. I can have this leg dropping to the side and basically sitting on my right sitting bone in this case. So I get openness here. And then, of course, I can combine it with the complete flexion of my leg, which is like this. And then I can sit like this or point my foot to the side. And now I can work. So these are all variations. Of course, it depends on your mobility and how mobile you are in your hip, but that's also why we put work into hip mobility, so you can actually switch positions. I also just like to sit like this and put my leg up. And then if I really want to get openness into my hips, depending, of course, on how big my table is and how your work environment is. But honestly, I did that during my studies. So when I studied in university, I couldn't sit for too long, so I found different ways of sitting or standing even. And I can simply place my leg here, sit down, bend over. And that's a variation of a pigeon that you can use. You can extend your leg further into the back and move here up and down. And if I don't want to have the openness in the external portion of my hip and the outer hip, I can even, if I'm flexible enough, place my foot here and play around here and get into a deeper kind of hip opening, hip stretch, whatever it is, and work here for a while. As I switch between positions fairly often, and I don't stay there for too long, this is a fine position to have. As this stresses your neck a little, I wouldn't stay here for too long. Or I would find ways to put my laptop a little bit higher. I like, when I do standing work, to choose this position. Sometimes I build myself this table. I could put it just on top of here, and then I could work here and have this nice opening going and moving back and forth, which really helps me to stay mobile during office work. All right, I hope this gives you some inspiration. Play around, find your own positions, have fun with it, set reminders so you switch positions, and don't take it too seriously. Just enjoy. Thank you.